All right, so in this episode, we're going to take a look at how much money should you keep in your bank account. Let's stay tuned. All right, so the simple answer is as much money as possible, right? Not necessarily true. So the point behind understanding how much money you should keep in your bank account is really because you're going to be making much more money if it's parked in other places. Let's look and evaluate really what's the point of a bank account. A bank account is really there to make money easy to use. So really, if we look at the goals, a bank, what do? They make it easy to use your money. It's convenience, so you pay for convenience, okay? They're not looking to grow your money. So what are you gonna do as far as growth goes? How much are you gonna earn? Like that, 0.01%, or at most, let's just call it 1% return on your money if it's kind of like a nice account that has a lot of money in it. But what about places that actually grow your money? Let's say stocks or investments in real estate, or even starting your own business or spending some money on equipment to do a side hustle. So let's just say you're making 8% on these. So do I want to put my money in a place where I'm making 8% or a place where I'm making kind of 1%? Usually you'll want to put it where you're making more money. So that's kind of what we're looking for, is how much do we need to keep in our bank account to make this kind of viable? Because I don't want to put more money into places where I'm just making it easy for myself to use that capital and flow. Instead, I want to look at where are things that are going to grow my money. That's pretty much the big picture, and that's the objective. So let's figure this out and calculate how this all works and how much do I need to keep. So to start things off, to make this calculation, all you need to do is calculate monthly expenses. This will give you an idea of how much money you are burning through. So if we go in and we look at, let's just go and take a look at our expenses or bills. In this case, you might have like a phone bill, water bill, electric bill. So all these things start to add up. So as you do car insurance or health insurance, and let's say you might pay rent or a mortgage. Okay, so you add all these things up, and I'm just going to say, let's say we've got $5,000 in expenses. Okay, so that's the amount of burn rate. Now, the easy way to now figure out, okay, how much money do I really need? This is just pretending worst case scenario, you lose your job, no money's coming in. Well, let's just take this, and let's say I need about 6 months worth of living expenses. I may want to keep about $30,000. Okay, so that's a little bit of a warning sign. I want to keep about $30,000, and that means it's going to get to zero. If I always want to have a cushion, like let's say you like having a cushion in your bank account, well, you always want to keep like 15 or 20,000. Well, just add like 15,000 to that. So that means you want to be at $45,000. Okay, so that gives you your 6 months plus like a $15,000 cushion. So pretty simple right there. Okay, now here's the other interesting part. If you have money parked in, let's say, stocks versus maybe real estate, if you're doing things that have more liquidity where you can take money out, you may need to keep less money in your bank account because you're always able to pull money out if need be. Now, on the other hand, if you're taking like all of your money in personal finances, putting it into real estate, you may need a larger cushion because that asset that you have is less liquid. The whole point behind a bank account is we just need some living expenses. We need to be able to use it. It's a convenience factor. Otherwise, our money, it grows in other areas much faster. Okay, so let's look kind of at the next step. Let's say we want to take this a step further. How much money is actually coming in? This is our income, side hustles, income that fuels our expenses. This is something else to consider. Now, if you want to take the simple approach, you could just do this method that I just showed you right there. Hey, that's pretty simple, right? But remember, you do have money coming in. So if we look at kind of the income side of the equation, okay, and now we're looking at our side hustle, and we've got that coming in. We've also maybe have some money coming in from our job. It could be other things, but let's say we've got, in this case, maybe 7,000 coming in. Okay, so if I've got 7,000 coming in and I'm burning through 5,000, my net or total is really, I'm up about $2,000. So in fact, I'm positive $2,000. So that's pretty cool because now this gives me an idea of, hey, how much money is coming in, and that calculates, I'm going to call it the money flow. It gives us an idea of how much money we're really burning through or accumulating. In this case, you could see I'm not really burning through a lot of money. I'm actually accumulating money and not really burning through it. So that makes it pretty fantastic. So now I could say, hey, I'm actually got $2,000 coming in all the time. So I might not need that much money to make this happen, or to make it feasible to where I can actually keep less money. So if I always have 2,000 coming in, so there's always 2,000, right? So I've got this expense that's coming in, but then I always have that 2,000 that's coming in. So actually, I'm growing my account all the time. So you might need less money. And in order to really take a look at all of these factors, you might only need 3 months. So now, if you got 2,000 coming in, I might only want 2 or 3 months of kind of runway in the bank account. So for example, let's say I'm starting out at, let's say my goal is to always have about a $45,000 cushion. So I need my 15,000 because I like that cushion. Okay, I always like to have that extra little bit of cash. And then I've got 2,000 coming in. So remember, I'm always burning through 5,000, but I got 7,000 that's coming in. So I'm always growing this by 2,000. So I got 2,000. You could do it this as a simple way. So I got 2,000. That's 3 months later. Okay, so 3 months later, I'm already growing that account. In 3 months, I'm growing it by $6,000. Okay. So now the question comes down to is how much flexibility and how much runway do you want to have based on the stability of your job, your income, your side hustles, and that kind of thing. How much income do you really need in there to kind of make it viable? And because you'll probably be pulling money out consistently if your account is growing. Now, it's different if you're not making as much. Let's say you're like losing money or you're living paycheck to paycheck. It becomes more difficult. In that case, you don't have the luxury of putting that extra income into investments. But here in this case, if I've got, 2-3 months, I'm really looking at 2, 4, 6. Let's say here's another one, here's another one. So you just keep growing and accumulating this income. So now I've got another 6,000. Okay, so I've got 6,000 plus 6,000, that's another 12,000. So I've got 12,000 plus 15,000, and that puts me at $27,000, which basically is kind of the $30,000 I was looking for if I totally lose my job. So now the question is okay, do I need 6 months worth of gains, or do I kind of want to go in and say, hey, well, you know what, let me go in and say, okay, I want to keep about that much, or I want to keep about that much. So what I'm trying to do is figure out, okay, well, if in about 6 months I'm going to grow back into 30, you might say I only need 4 months worth, 4 months worth of room or wiggle room of expenses rather than 6, because you always have money coming in. So what you're doing is trying to figure out, okay, well, if I'm always withdrawing and taking things out every 6 months or every 3 months or every month, sometimes it's more of a headache to deal with the transaction costs doing the transaction, moving money and putting it back. So in your case, you're kind of looking at, hey, what's my flow? What's my spending flow? And then how much money am I taking out and using for other things? So that's really what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to that level. Because if you've got 2,000, 2,000, 2,000 coming in, it's kind of like start with the cushion you want. So how much wiggle room do you want? Do you want kind of like $20,000? Because your expenses now are at around $5,000 each. So that gives you 5 times 4, or 20 divided by 5, you get about 4 months. And then you basically have 2,000 coming in every time. Okay. So that's kind of nice, because if you look at your expenses, and I've got my expense of 5,000 in 2 to 3 months, basically 2.5 months, I get an extra month. So in 2.5 months of salary, I get another month. So then I'll be up to 5 months of cushion. So that's kind of the way you would calculate it. And that's what you're looking for is I'm trying to keep less money in my bank account and then make it more so that way I have more money going into investments. On the other hand, if I go in with, let's say, $25,000 as kind of my cushion state, and then my expenses are $5,000, now I've got 5 months of wiggle, okay? And then remember, you got your 2,000 that's coming in every month. So in about 2.5 months, again, you'll be up to 6 months of cushion. So you could basically, once you get to 12 months of cushion, you could withdraw and take money out and put that into investments. And how much do you take out? You could go back to a 4-month cushion. Okay, so you're basically, once you hit 12, you go back and restart the cycle. So it's basically, you want to have your 4-month cushion. Okay, once you reach a 12-month cushion, what you'll do is you'll go back, take money out. So you take money out. Okay, and this is kind of your growth. Okay, so the bank account's growing the bank. Take money out, put it over here in stocks or investments, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. But that's what you're looking to do, is put it in a place where it grows your money. But other than that, you're doing this cycle over and over again. So that way, hey, I've got a 4-month cushion. Once I get to 12, I'll take out all those remaining amounts. I'll have 4 months. So on average, you'll kind of have, about 6 to 11 months worth of cushion, or 6 to 12 months worth of cushion. But if you're looking at it at about an average, somewhere about 6 to 10 months is kind of where you'll have your cushion. Now, if you're okay with it, and you're okay with playing a little bit more risky, you could do like a 3-month thing, because eventually you'll grow it back, and then go to 12 months. Or you could say, hey, I'm okay with risking it a little bit more. All my stuff is very liquid, so I've got 2 months worth of, I would draw a lot of it. I got 2 months, because within a month or two, I'm back to kind of 3-4 months. I'm already growing it. And then what you could withdraw is you could do it a little sooner, 6 months. So that way, when you're always hitting 6 months, you're dealing with less capital, because you have more liquid things. Again, I would only do that if you're dealing with liquid assets that you could get rid of very quickly, like stock investments that are shorter term. Okay. Otherwise, you could just say 2 months to 12 months, and that way you're taking a little more risk. The risk factor is more at the beginning. So when you have it, this part is kind of the risk factor that you have. And then the other part is going to be a little bit okay. So here is my kind of initial risk that I'll have, is this initial part where after I withdrew the money, I got 2 months. Worst case scenario, I have to put money back in and take it out of my investments. But other than that, then you're using more of your capital to kind of grow your money, rather than letting it sit in the bank account, which we know the return is kind of poor. All right, one final big tip that I want to leave you with, and that is, remember to set up automations to make sure money is flowing into your account, into your bank account. That includes stuff like from your paycheck, your side hustles, that kind of stuff. That way you don't forget, and make sure that you're consistently growing that bank account with time. And then set up automations as well to take money out. So that way you can make sure you're putting it back to automatically invest. Otherwise, you might let this thing grow to, let's say, 30 months. And then later on, you're like, oh my God, I'm way over here. I got to take money out. And then you're back there. So it's not as consistent, shall we say. But other than that, those are kind of the big points and pictures to really how much money you should have in your bank account, and how to kind of think about it as you're going through the process. I hope that helps, gives you an understanding to at least thinking about this logically, rather than 5,000 here or 20,000 here or 5 million there. So it's really just about seeing how much money is coming into your account versus going out, and then how much cushion do you want to have, as well as how liquid are your investments, or how much money can you bring back if there is an emergency that happens. If you want to keep it simple, just take your expenses and kind of multiply it by the number of months cushion you want. So if you've got expenses of 5,000, you lose your job, and you want like 10 months, then you might need $50,000 worth of, in your bank account. So that way it drains that bank account. With, let's say, a $10,000 cushion or a $20,000 cushion, just add that in to it, and that's just pretty much a simple way of doing it. Anyways, hope that helps. Thanks for joining me. Feel free to check out our website at MyLittleNestEgg.com and join me for some of my other future videos.